Hello and welcome to Talk TV. I'm your host, Doug Brendel, and tonight we're with a candidate for the United States House, and that is Joe Silvestri. He will be running in our district, District 4. Joe is with the Libertarian Party, and they have a lot of interesting ideas on how to get us out of the mess that we are in. So with no further ado, here's Joe. And Joe, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Good to see you, Doug.
Yeah, welcome to KPVM. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what got you into wanting to be a candidate for Congress.
I am a father of two. I'm a long-term educator. I currently teach high school. I've been teaching my entire professional career. I guess being a history, social studies teacher, I have studied about government and political science. I was a history, political science major when I was in school. And I guess just that beginning led me to kind of a distaste for government. So I never was really involved until really I moved out to Nevada, and I read Why Government Doesn't Work by Harry Brown. The light went on, and I understood that a big part of the problem is government in itself. They don't really solve our problems. In many cases, they create the problems and then offer to solve those very same problems. So that led me to realize I was a libertarian, small L libertarian, and that quickly led me to the Libertarian Party, because I never had much excitement for the Republicans or the Democrats. I've found that they say one thing and do another, and like most Americans today who are registered nonpartisan or consider themselves independent, I did not want to join them. I felt a third choice was better, and since then I've been working for the Libertarian Party to help build it into a viable third party. And lo and behold, this year I am our party's candidate for Congress District 4.
Okay, well, let's get right into the meat of the matter, as they say. And, I guess one of the big ones right now is spending and the deficit. Where do you stand on that one?
Well, I believe that we should be fiscally responsible. Libertarians believe in being fiscally responsible and being socially tolerant. We advocate letting others live and let live. And as long as you're living peacefully and honestly with your neighbor, that's where it should be. And as a result of that, we believe in very small, limited government. We don't believe that government should be doing everything and should have power over every aspect of our lives. So we favor a balanced budget. We favor small, limited government. What we have now is nothing of that sort. We have almost a $16 trillion deficit. It's mind-boggling how large that number is. We've added another trillion something just this past year. That is not fiscal responsibility, and this is we're putting this on our children and our grandchildren. So I think it's morally wrong. I am fed up with Washington and the politicians in Washington who continue to add this to our children's futures, and it needs to turn around. So that's kind of where I'm at in general on spending and the deficit. I think we should be balancing the budget. I think we need to not raise taxes, but instead cut spending. So if we're going to have taxes and we are going to have a government, we should have limited low taxes, and we need to cut spending. Return that money to the states, to the people, and let them decide how it's best spent.
Now, I have heard the Libertarian candidate for president, Gary Johnson, he talks about getting rid of the IRS.
Yes. I'm with him on that. I'm very much a Gary Johnson supporter. Just as Gary Johnson was a Ron Paul supporter, I am picking up their message and just one of the troops carrying that message. So yes, I agree that we should abolish the IRS and replace it with a better tax system. Our tax code is a disaster. It's, what is it now, 100,000 pages? It's insane. Nobody knows these laws and regulations. You have to hire professionals just to make sure you're doing the legal thing. Instead, along with Gary Johnson and many others, I support the fair tax, which is a consumption tax. That would solve a lot of our problems. We'd still have taxation, but it would be fair across the board. Everybody would pay. It would be virtually impossible to avoid paying taxes. So you wouldn't have to worry about hiring an accountant to file. You wouldn't have to file. It would take care of a lot of other problems, too.
Is that what you call a national sales tax?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. A consumption tax is like a national sales tax. So as you buy items, anything that's new or just being produced, that's where the tax lies. So everybody has to pay for that. Wherever it's sold, that's where the tax is collected. So I'm in favor of the fair tax.
Okay. Ron Paul, favorite of the Libertarians, one of his main planks of his platform, audit the Fed.
Yeah.
Why do it? What would that accomplish?
Well, I don't spend endless time talking about auditing the Fed. It's probably because I'm a history teacher, and I realize how few people even understand what the Fed does.
Exactly. But that's why I asked.
Yeah. So I'll speak to it, but most people are like, "What's the Fed?" Well, it's the Federal Reserve Act. It's a quasi-private, government-created organization that controls our money, and it should not. We can't even follow what the Fed does. It's a bunch of private individuals who make monetary policy that suits their interests. It doesn't suit necessarily the stability of the country. It doesn't look out for you and I and our families. I believe, along with Ron Paul and Gary Johnson, that we should take a good hard look at what the Fed is doing. So I'm in favor of auditing the Fed. I'd like to get rid of the Fed and replace it with alternative currencies. I think we need to have something besides the dollar so that we'll have stability to our currency. So inflation will not run unchecked as it has. I mean, since the Fed has been created, I think the value of the dollar has declined every single year to today. It's worth a penny or two, literally. That is wealth that's taken from us. So that is definitely an issue. As more people become aware of it, I think they'll support the idea that that should be done.
A big thing that's going on right now in Washington is gridlock. How do we cure that? Well, it's dysfunctional.
Yes, it is, except in the case of Washington, gridlock is actually good. Because gridlock, when we talk about gridlock in this sense, and we're talking about Washington gridlock, not necessarily all other gridlock, certainly not traffic gridlock. It means that the Democrats and Republicans are fighting so much with each other that they can't pass their pork pieces of legislation. So in that case, often gridlock is good for us because whenever, as Mark Twain said, when Congress is in session, we're in trouble. That's a paraphrase, but when these guys get together and everything is smooth sailing for them, it means one party or the other has so much control that they are able to pass the legislation that they like, and most of the time they don't do what they promise. They do what they promise to the lobbyists. And so you and I are the ones that end up suffering. So I'd like it if they went to Washington and got nothing accomplished, because they'd do less damage that way.
Okay. Well, we are going to take a break right now.
Okay.
Coming right back from the break, we're going to have a message from Governor Gary Johnson, the Libertarian candidate for president, and we'll talk about that message right after this.